Can God do anything? Welcome to this, your daily 180 Bible study. We're engaged in a study of certain things that God cannot do. And last week as we introduced this study, we saw that God cannot engage in nonsense. He can't make a rock that's too heavy for Him to pick up. That's absurdity. God cannot make a square also a circle at the same time. That's impossible. That's absurdity. And God cannot give man free will and at the same time make man do certain things. We also saw that God cannot lie. His perfect, holy nature is such, if He tells us something, we can count on it. And He's not a promise breaker. He's going to keep His promises. So with that in mind, I think it's important for us to recognize that God cannot save people who are ignorant of His will. And someone says God can save people any way He wants to. Well, you see, there's certain boundaries that He's laid down and He will not violate them. Mankind, we have a way, we can be wishy-washy and willy-nilly, but not God. As a matter of fact, I want you to notice John chapter 6, beginning at verse number 44, Jesus lays down a very important principle about us coming into a relationship with God. Verse number 44, no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught by God. Therefore, everyone who has heard and learned from the Father comes to me. So here Jesus is saying there's only one way. The Father's got to draw you. Well, how's the Father draw you? Is it a mystical, mysterious thing that happens? No, it happens through education. God's got to teach us. How does He teach us? Through His Word. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 16 tells us that these words in the Word of God, the Bible, are the Word of God. They're God-breathed. They're inspired by God. God can't save you apart from you learning His will. Are we going to know His will perfectly? No, but it is that constant process of learning and being drawn nearer and nearer to Jesus, and it's an educational process. Romans chapter 10, verse number 17 says, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. If you separate yourself from the Bible, if you refuse to study the Bible, if you refuse to know the will of God, God cannot save you. Someone says, but God can do anything. Once God's laid down a principle, He's not going to violate that. You must be a student of His Word. Join us again tomorrow.